Hello, everybody. It's Ron again, and we're back for another look at the headlines, giving a little context, a little commentary where I know something about it, and maybe in some places where I don't. And we're looking at Drudge Report here. It's a site many people love to hate, but it does serve a lot of headlines that news sites around the world, the media looks at, and it kind of points the media to different headlines that are pleasing to the general public. So here we have right at the top, UN alarmed as Mideast war intensifies. Of course, this is a little bit funny and ironic because the United Nations has come into to question as an arbiter of world peace ever since the Ukraine invasion by Russia, and because since Russia is on the Security Council, the UN, then Russia can veto any resolution. So the UN was kind of neutered on the issue of Russia and Ukraine. So throughout these last couple of years, a lot of people have always looked askew at the UN, but increasingly in these last couple of years, they seem to be a side player at best, sort of an organization that needs some changing. There's always lots of talk about different countries that want to have a seat on the Security Council, be a permanent member. But as it is, the Security Council is hamstrung because Russia is diametrically opposed to most of the rest of the world in terms of sanctioning it for its invasion of the Ukraine. U.S. weighs peacekeepers. Yikes! I don't know. Somehow I'm here. I'm in a remote location in this glorious hotel here, hotel room. At least it's by the beach, and I get all these sites coming in, but MSN doesn't come in. But the U.S. has had a checkered past with peacekeepers all the way back from the 80s in Beirut, when a lot of them got blown up. They've been in a lot of different areas. It's sort of putting yourself in harm's way. In some cases, haven't been able to fight back or carry arms, and there's criticism of that. But that there is also a practical purpose in a lot of cases when the UN has run this and put peacekeepers in various countries. They ran the country of Cambodia in the early 90s for a few years, all over the world. I think a lot of people have a knee-jerk reaction, just like I did when I first read this little headline, U.S. weighs peacekeepers. See if I could get MSN, let's see if I could get maybe I had the JavaScript blocked. A lot of people have a knee-jerk reaction opposing, no, maybe not, opposing peacekeepers, but I think we hear a lot about the failures and not the successes. Hostages, Star of David painted on homes. Is it time to leave Germany? Here's a little ad coming up for AVG. Netanyahu under pressure, all kinds of stuff. China denies censorship after Israel goes missing from maps. FBI warns terror threat high, hatred of Jews surges. What an unusual situation. We've had, and I've mentioned this before in other days past when we're looking at the news, but how fascinating that over all the past decades of the troubles in the Middle East between Israel and its neighbors, I think in the Western nations generally have been very supportive of Israel, and this time it's not. In fact, people are coming on strong, and it's maybe a different era with social media, with people thinking they're going to take a real controversial stand and be patted on the back for it. And maybe people, there's a lot of sloganeering and dumbing down of information about what has happened in the Middle East, and how Israel has tried to come to terms with the Palestinian Authority, with Yasser Arafat in the end of the Clinton administration, but the Palestinians have been cursed with some poor leadership, perhaps, in not making a deal. And the other way to just look at it is just to say the schisms here are so deep, we can't expect them almost to be solved. It's just a troubled region, as some areas of the world are. More about Trump. People threatening people, Georgia DA, no doubt about the voting. Centuries after witch trials, Massachusetts group seeks to clear nearly 200 names. I thought I'd read they'd done something like that in the past. It seems to be such an interesting subject, unusual for especially some people really interested in that. Not me. AI anxiety as computers get super smart. Not sure where that's leading. We're in almost a brave new world in that sort of situation. Animal tattoos in Ecuador. See, this is kind of not really news, but it's something that is interesting to the general public, might cause people to click on such a link. Saudi Arabia buying up lots of sports franchises. New Speaker of the House urges religious test for politicians. You read something like that, you wonder, is this actually what he said, or is it some sort of slant on this? And of course, this is coming from Mother Jones, which is a liberal publication. I think they would admit to that. There's a lot of people who are not happy with the new Republican Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, as he's supposedly a Trump supporter, quite Christian or a fundamentalist. See, these diehard fundamentalists, blah, 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 every other is false. Do we know? I don't know if we can really know from that source whether that is true or not. And I don't know if it's worth trying to figure out what it is. We'll have to see how he votes and what his record is. More about him. Obviously, they're going after that guy. Summer's U.S. federal deficit, more serious problem than ever before. I've mentioned this a lot in the past stories. We went from a situation where the United States, its yearly deficit was balanced during the Clintons' term, and since then both Republican and Democrat administrations have been piling trillions of dollars onto the national debt for various reasons. There were wars in the Middle East, but it's mainly to prop up the economy, keep the United States out of recession, which they've done for almost too long a period of time. And this is what is causing people to say, how long can this go on with a national debt over $30 trillion? And running, I believe, over $1 trillion debt every year. Could you do that? What would the bank say? But in the United States, the U.S. is not only the bank, but it's the bank for the whole world because it's the exchange currency everybody else's currency goes through. It's also one of the reasons why they have to keep China going, because China buys bonds from the U.S. and finances that debt. Armed man killed himself instead of carrying out plan to attack amusement park. Why do I know this is in the United States? This is a issue of both. The United States has a lot of arms. We're allowed to keep and bear arms, and there is sort of a cultural thing that has grown up in the past decades, the last 40 years, perhaps especially with mass shootings, quite quite a difficult cultural situation that the United States has to find its way out of. And I suppose it could be simple enough as taking all the guns away, and many other countries have done that when they're faced with this situation. I know Australia did that. They were a gun country, and they had a big shooting. I can't remember. I knew the name of the place, but after that, they cracked down, and I don't know. But you're not going to be able to do that in the United States. And even though I'm not too against gun control, I know that in the United States, it's just a part of the culture in a way you cannot understand unless you're there. And you might not even understand it if you're there. So, there's another great, this is a headline people might like to read, although it's not really news. Got my alarm going here. Airbnb sued over horror vacation rental with a bat infestation. So, okay, that's not news, but it's something people are likely to want to read about. It's interesting, and you can imagine yourself in that situation. Huge new red light district forming in New York City. They have these in a lot of the U.S. cities where they have changed the laws, so the police can't arrest people, like I think for intent to loiter or something like that. Every state has its own name for such a law, but sort of taken the lid off of that, and it's allowed a lot of law breaking to go on. It is one of those things that it's going to go too far, and people are going to snap back and probably start electing people at that local level that are tougher on crime again. Jury finds realtors conspired to keep commissions high. Okay. Tucker's ugly exit from Fox. Gee, I don't like this kind of person, but I sure wish I was a big media person who could be written about like this, or could even have an ugly exit from something. But all my exits are unknown by all people, so yeah. Not interested. Nikki Haley, some more stuff coming up in the primary elections for next year. That's, already it's sort of between Biden and Trump, but I don't know if anybody would bet the whole farm that both of those two are going to end up squaring off. They're both very old. Biden does seem very almost senile sometimes, but and Trump is embroiled in all this weird law breaking, most of it of his own mistake. And so I think there's a lot of people are circling, thinking there might be an opportunity here to swoop in as the primaries start next year. Britney Spears wants TV series. Second pig heart transplant patient dies. See, these are very much human interest kind of stories. And you see how newsrooms, you point out these sorts of things, and these are the sort of things that are carried and pushed forward on some of these news sites. Hidden culprit, but driving Americans apocalypse. Urban planning. Now, I didn't see this. This may be a new headline that just came on here. Pandemic, doom loom, apocalypse, COVID. Long leases, online selling or online buying of things. I also know that there were a lot of big venture capitalists, like in the case of Sears was one of them, other that sort of gutted these companies for real estate and essentially drove them into the ground and then sold off the real estate. and it still had some sort of a return for the investors, and then they turned the shells of those companies into other sort of real estate holding firms. I'm glad I'm not in that business. Just about any business you're in, it just turns the next day. Ghostly bones of cosmic hand captured by NASA. One thing I always just note about these is the pictures that they put out. I don't know if they're always clear. Like I'm sure it doesn't actually look like that in space. This is, they add in the things that are unseen to the visible to the human eye. So low energy X-rays, high energy X-rays. They put all of those in there, and it makes them more compelling image than it would otherwise. So this is the news. Some more scary things, and also just notable. What do we not hear anything more about anymore? We don't hear anything about Russia and Ukraine. You can bet they're still fighting, though. So before we go, this is my book. It's my novel of Bangkok. It's a novel of people, their inner thoughts, both foreigners who've come to Thailand to work and the local Thais. And all of them are in a fast-changing, ridiculously overdeveloped and fast-moving world. And it's about their lives and the stresses that we kind of all have when we're living in the big city. So that's my book. It's on Kindle and Amazon. Please take a look at it. I'd love if somebody bought some and read it and let me know what they thought. So please subscribe to this channel, and I'll continue on doing the daily news wrap-up, talking and seeing what we can add to these headlines. So until next time, bye-bye.